Good Sunday morning to everybody except for Conor McGregor, even though he's going to need it. So, in the last couple of UFC events, we've obviously had some really good fights and some really high profile fights. And for some reason or another, people were hyping this card, UFC 329, I believe it is, to be, bigger than UFC White House, which is just ridiculous. There were obviously some good fights on this card. I didn't watch the whole thing because I was busy playing Call of Duty with the boys, but I managed to see the Paddy Pimblett fight. That was an incredible performance from Paddy. Amazing performance on the day that England also won their match at the World Cup. They're close to winning it all. I don't think they deserve it because I don't think they're going to fix their country, but so I don't think they should be distracted by sports. But anyway, Paddy had a good performance. He's looking pretty good after his loss to Justin Gaethje. Magnificent performance from Paddy. There were some other good performances on the card. But most notably, this was supposed to be, a pointless fight between McGregor and Max Holloway. And Max is one of my favorite fighters. I think he's, somebody that everybody enjoys watching and respects a lot. And McGregor's delusion, whatever reason he took this fight, I think just to make a paycheck. I don't know if he's running into money issues and needs the money. I don't know what it is. He might be just like Mayweather. I don't know if he's as bad as Mayweather. I don't know if he's as dumb as Mayweather, but there's really no explanation for why this guy was getting back into the octagon at really almost the age of 38. He'll be turning 38 in a few weeks. After 5 years of inactivity, before that, he had like 4 years of inactivity, sort of. And I understand that these guys, they stay somewhat in shape even when they're not fighting anymore because, once an athlete, normally always an athlete, but Conor has been known for allegedly getting into some recreational stuff and maybe some things beyond that, allegedly. And, he hasn't looked or sounded the same as he was when he was younger, but also factor in his biological age. He's had a horrible leg injury, and I didn't think we would ever see him again after that. 5 years later, almost. I don't know why he showed up for a fight. The guy's delusional, or it was all planned just so he could make some money. Now, there's a lot of delusional McGregor fans out there. I don't think I've ever seen more contracts being bought for anything. There's like 100 million on McGregor, and I think a lot of them were on him to lose because his percentage to win was never above 30. But on the prediction markets, there were like 100 million contracts on McGregor, which is crazy, and Holloway had like 20 million maybe. And of course I bet on Holloway because there's no way that McGregor's going in there to even make it interesting. People were just selling that fight. There was no reason to actually think McGregor was going to pose a threat to anybody. Even though Max is not in his prime either, like he used to be, because Max is like 34, might even be going on 35. I'm not sure. I think he's 34. He probably turned 34. I don't know, but Max has got the most significant strikes in history, and he's also, I think, absorbed the most significant strikes. But it's also Conor McGregor, who was a good fighter 10 years ago, but he's, I don't really want to say a one-dimensional fighter. He's a talented striker, but in modern MMA, this guy is only taking, when he actually does show up, he's taking the most selective matchups. And yeah, he came back and he fought Poirier and got his ass beat twice. And that's why I'm making this video, not to really clown on Conor McGregor, but oh wow, the multimillionaire, oh wow, he tore his ACL because they decided to come back for a publicity stunt. and a paycheck, because it really seemed as though, if you look at his demeanor before he even walked into the cage and when he got in there was something wrong with his face. There's something wrong with the expression on his face. He did not look like he wanted to be there. He looked very sleepy and disinterested. And maybe that's just what I'm seeing, but I mean, you just look on his face. This does not look like a guy who's prepared to go in there and fight. I have no idea what he was trying to do with that jump kick that he tried to do. I think probably he did injure himself, or maybe he was already injured going in there. I don't know. But what I do know is McGregor fans are just as delusional as McGregor. Because even if that was a fluke injury, well, it's not the first time he's had one. But actually, in the Poirier fight, a lot of people have said it was probably Dustin shaking the kick that caused the injury, at least partially. And people have said he was also partially injured going into that fight. But if you don't trust your body in your mid-30s and you're doing stupid shit, you know, McGregor's not really the guy known for throwing a bunch of kicks, especially low kicks. And he was throwing the low kicks 5 years ago in the Poirier 3 fight. And ended up breaking his foot, which I guess had something to do with the kicks. I don't even know if that's confirmed. But Poirier beat his ass from pillar to post in both of those fights. And Poirier's one of the top guys, or was, when he was still active. And McGregor used to be a good fighter, but he was a good fighter in a different era of MMA. And he also had like this aura because he was talking so much trash to people. But he's been embarrassed so many times in the octagon at this point. And I get some of it's to promote fights, but the guy seems to be legitimately with some screws loose. Like, he's not the most mature guy in the head. Because you look at some of his antics and some of, his criminal charges against him. And I'm not saying all of the things that he's been accused of are true, but we've seen him on camera doing some terrible things to people. And there's really no excuse to conduct yourself that way. So I think the guy's just a hooligan at heart. And he talks so much shit. He was telling Poirier that he was going to go out on a stretcher. And probably the biggest piece of irony ever in combat sports is when Conor ended up going out on a stretcher that night. And you can't make that shit up, man. Like, Conor McGregor, the fact that he still has so many fans after that, like, he just plummeted after that, and that's why he didn't show up for 5 years after that. That was one of the most embarrassing moments in history, and kind of funny. Like, it's kind of spectacular, but for you to have a reverse prediction on yourself, and then for him to tell Max Holloway that he's not going to land a glove on him, and then you proceed not to land a fucking single strike on him. I think Holloway might have partially blocked that kick that was partially landed, but it didn't do a damn thing to him. He didn't land, I don't think, any significant strikes whatsoever. And Max took it easy on his ass, because if I was Max, and he said he wanted to get a UFC 300 type moment on McGregor. Max had some sympathy. He had some awareness. He felt like Conor was injured or something was wrong with him, and he went easy on him. But kind of like how Robert Whittaker went easy on Krylov at the very end of the fight because he knew he had fucked him up pretty badly. So I respect that from Max. But I don't really have any respect for McGregor coming back. It was a waste of everybody's time and money. People tuned into this card mainly because of McGregor. People even bet money on McGregor like dumbasses, thinking he had a chance. And that's not how you bet. You don't bet on a guy who really has all the odds against him. And just because of sentimentality, you don't do that unless you want to just piss your money away. So it was the freest money that I've ever made on anything on Max Holloway. Then, the guy lasted less than a minute in there. And I should have bet more money on Max. But even I thought, to some degree, McGregor's, in theory, dangerous. So I didn't bet the house on Max because I thought maybe the odds might come down a little bit. But 70% for Max is pretty good. Because, combat sports in general is fluky, but there was no reason, if you were intelligent, to bet anything on McGregor or to think that McGregor could win. And this is probably the best way for him to go out. Anticlimactic. Didn't get fucked up too bad. I don't think we'll see him again now, but who knows? The guy's delusional. Guy's almost 38. If he really did have an ACL tear, I don't think he's ever coming back. And the mental state of this motherfucker after that, I personally don't know if he was ever serious about fighting. He showed up. Maybe he was just looking for some way to get out of it. I don't fucking know. Like, I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist, but I know McGregor is delusional and his fans are delusional and they're so annoying. And I think McGregor's trash talk is super overrated. This is a guy who, if you had met him on the internet, if you met him on like a Call of Duty lobby or something, he would just be like a normal person you meet playing video games. I grew up with so many angry British people that I played video games with, and they talk just like McGregor. And some of them can back it up. Some of them are just delusional. Some of them are just dumb. They're clowns, but some of them can back it up. And I think, McGregor was a good athlete and a talented fighter at one point in time, and he had the trash talk too. But to me, it's boring at a certain point in time. I've seen that all before. He's not Muhammad Ali or anything like that. And he's overrated as a fighter, He was a good fighter in a different era of MMA. Now it's a lot more competitive. There's a lot more people in the sport. It's a much more complex sport these days. And Conor had good wins against some up-and-comers, but he never really beat, outside of Aldo, he never really beat anybody that was that impressive at the time of their careers. Never defended his belt. Did it in 2 weight classes, but that's since been done by so many people, including people like Pereira that, didn't even grow up in MMA. So, Conor McGregor's a little bit interesting. But I think as a man, I don't know what to say about him as a man, but I think the guy, he's done some bad things outside the octagon. He's brought a lot of negative attention to himself. I don't know why he still has so many fans. And I don't know what the fuck his ego problem is, but dude, you're not coming back at 38 years old. Beating Max Holloway is not happening. And you're not going to become the champion. He wants to fight at 170 because he doesn't want to cut the weight. Okay, let's see you fight some of the boys at 170. Let's see you fight Makachev, Ian Gary, Prates, Morales. No way he's taking those fights. This fucking guy always fights dudes where he can be a weight bully at, coming down in weight, or he wants him to come up to his weight. And Max is someone who, he fought him at featherweight. He fought Poirier, I believe, at featherweight. And Diaz is a fucking, well, I'm not going to disrespect Nate Diaz, but, he's like a vegetarian, I think. And you can see his type of body. Diaz isn't that hard of a hitter. So, of course, he fought Diaz up at 170. He might have fought again at 170, but he's not fighting any of these big boys at 170. The guy's delusional. And I don't really want to, dump too much hate on McGregor, but I want to talk about just how bad this dude's predictions, they call him Mystic Mac. He's Mystic Mac predicting his own downfall, and he should have thought about that. Embarrassing, wasted everyone's time, one of the most anticlimactic main events ever. And that kind of stuff happens, but I mean, the thing is, people were hyping this up like it was something special, and it was never going to be that. And if you're a McGregor fan, you might be glad he got injured, or supposedly he got injured, because that saves you even more embarrassment from Max beating his ass for 5 rounds, and he turns into fucking Ilia Topuria. who has a much, much better chance of bouncing back from his defeat to Gaethje, I think, than McGregor does at 38 years old, with multiple injuries on his feet, wounded pride, and he's just not that good anymore. And I guess in the end he wins because he's got lots of money. He's Money McGregor, but he's got some mental problems, it seems, because I don't know what the fuck you're doing coming back to fight. Some kind of crazy ego problem. But they're giving him favorable matchups, or trying to, even though I know, like, you know, the Max Holloway fight is a storyline matchup for him, and Max isn't really going to mix in too much wrestling. So that's somewhat of a favorable matchup for him. They're not throwing him in there, and they should not be giving him high-ranked opponents anyway. He should have to fight some up-and-comers that there's no tape on that can fuck his ass up, and the odds are stacked against him because he can't make much of a name on some random guy. But they're giving him these highlight matchups, but he's ended up being the highlight. So that's all I have to say about it. I just think that it's funny, and I think McGregor's an embarrassment, and he's kind of an embarrassment to MMA at this point. MMA has moved past McGregor. Maybe there's no quote-unquote box office star like McGregor, but there's so many other fighters that are entertaining way more than McGregor. We have Pereira. We have Cyril Gane, too, even though I know Cyril Gane gets some flack for some of his questionable fouls, if you call him that, in the octagon. But Cyril Gane's a talented fighter. He's fun to watch. The rematch between him and Aspinall, I think, will be even more interesting this time. You have Pereira. You had Deporia, and Deporia might come back, and he might still be interesting. You got Holloway. You got Oliveira. You got all these great fighters. You got, in the lighter weight classes, some great fighters. You got so many great fighters. And maybe they don't have the personality of McGregor, but fuck his personality. His personality's not even real. But the fighting, you don't play fighting. Fighting is real. And you go in there and you throw stupid shit like McGregor did and you land wrong. You're a 38-year-old man. Act like it.